It's exciting. I mean, you got UAB that's returning 18 of 22 starters. Okay, they already have a quality coaching staff. They're going to come down to Miami to prove a point, man. And if we are not rolling, it can be another kind of like Toledo was back in 2017, where I believe we were only up by 7 or 10, and it was 30-20 at halftime, something like that. Or you can have a Central Michigan type effect where if we don't come to play offensively and the defense is struggling and they're on the line, it's 4th and goal and they have a chance to either tie or win the game. You know, stuff like that happens. But I think we have the staff. I think we have the leader in De'Aaron King, especially at QB, guy that everyone respects on this team. Active players, previous players, and coaching staff that respects our leaders. And this staff is experienced. So I believe that they're not going to let it just be, oh, well, you know, it's just UAB. Let's just line up and play football. We're faster than them. You know, we'll eventually make a play and win the game. No. You have a quality staff. You got a quality leader at QB. You got a defense that's been top 25 since 2016. And I believe that they're going to come and prove it. Now, what I believe and what we put on the dang football field sometimes has been two separate things. The one thing I am confident in, no matter what, this team is going to be focused and prepared. Are they going to come out slow? Maybe. But I would say probably about halftime or so, they'll get things right. And Coach Manny Diaz, as a head coach and as a defensive coordinator, has proven one thing. He makes halftime adjustments. Even if you watched last year, things that people did against us the first half, they didn't do very well against us, especially if you talk about from the defensive perspective. They didn't do that against us the second half. UNC jumped out and only scored 7 points the second half. You know, you look at Tallahassee, they had their one little surge. As soon as the half started, right after that, it stopped. It didn't come back again. You know, so even FIU, they had their touchdowns early, but it was all field goals after the second half, you know, even though it was a loss. But I'm saying he has a way of being able to take away what you're doing well, and then it's up to the other offense to make their adjustments, which I think UAB will because they have a quality staff and an older team. But besides that, I mean, that's exciting. It's at home. And I said, I think we're going to play the entire season, Mark. But even if we don't, what a good first 4 games. Let's say we don't even make it past that first bye week. You got home UAB. So it's not like you can just stuff it and it's FAMU. No, you got to show up and play. Then you're going to travel to Louisville. And we put a shellacking on them last year, even though they still put up 500 yards of total offense. You know I like talking about that. I was very angry about that. Anyway, we got to go play them. And then you're going to come home and have your rivalry game against Tallahassee. So those first 3 weeks, there's nothing you can do to sit and relax and say, oh, well, we're the U. We got 5 national championships. We're all right. Got a Hall of Famer the last 2 times. They called Hall of Famers. We're good. We got it. Nope. You got to show up and play each and every week. Then you got the game, the best game you're going to have since Notre Dame 2017 on a national stage probably. They're probably going to give us the Saturday night game to either, you know, have Miami have a chance to show the nation that they're for real. And De'Aaron King, there's going to be a lot of eyes, a lot of NFL eyes on that game. Or we fall flat on our face and we get shellacked by 42 points on national TV. So those first 4 games of the season, there is no way that you can sit back and say we have any room to breathe. And I think that's why we're recruiting as hard as we are. I think that's why Coach Manny Diaz went out and built the staff that he did, because you got this schedule. When you go into this offseason and you got the next 2 years non-conference, isn't like they were before. You got at Texas A&M. You got Alabama. You're going to be playing some quality squads here. You got Michigan State that's officially going to be on the schedule, you know, that's not remade. So you got to be able to have a quality staff and a quality team moving forward if you expect to win those non-conference games.
You could throw out a final score for this UAB game anywhere from, you could say Miami wins this game 45-14. I'd say, I believe it. You could say Miami struggles and wins 24-20. I believe it. You could go all over the map. If those 2 teams play 10 times, maybe Miami wins all 10. They probably win 9. UAB probably, they're that good. They played in the conference championship game last year. They won the conference championship the year before. Yep. Of course, Conference USA is probably the 7th or 8th best conference in the nation out of 10. And I've run the numbers the last few years. The group of 5 beats the Power 5 about 15 to 20% of the time, something in that range. They'll usually play about 100 games. Group of 5 will win about 15, 18 games. It'll be like 82-18. So they win about 15 to 20% of those games. Obviously, the Boise States of the world are typically winning the games. The UCFs and the Boise States and Houston when they were really good. Those
Florida State
are usually against Florida State in the Peach Bowl. Usually winning those games. But just look at just look at FIU. Obviously, they completed the deal. And then look at Western Michigan earlier in the year when you're scuffling around scoring 17 points against Western Michigan. And it's a 1-score game. And they were coming off either the week before or the week after. Wisconsin beat them 61-0.
I think it was the week before, Mark.
So that's when when you got Wisconsin, Miami, we could argue talent. I don't think you can really argue Miami's got more speed, but you could argue NFL talent and how good they are. It's comparable. That's a focused, what you get out of Wisconsin. This is what Miami needs to do. They need to know who they are, and they need to be disciplined enough to say, we're playing Western Michigan. Wisconsin goes out there and beats them 61-0 because they can, because it's no different to them than going out against Nebraska or Iowa or Ohio State in the future weeks. They bring it every week, and they may not be the most talented every time, but man, that program is consistent.
And the funny part is the guy who built their program, is it Alvarez?
Barry Alvarez. Yeah.
He was the guy that Donna Shalala wanted to be our head coach when she got the job. And people did not want him anywhere near the program. And if you look at it from bird's eye view in a Miami's mindset, you're going to think, why we don't want to be Wisconsin. Wouldn't you love 15 to 20 years of consistency and then being able to be put over the top by the Miami athleticism?
Yeah, if you know anything about Big Ten football and what's happened there in the last 3 decades. So Barry Alvarez was the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, and he was exceptional. They won national championships, the whole deal. And then he's looking for his next job. And I've seen the documentary on the 1993 Wisconsin team that won the Rose Bowl, and that doesn't seem like a big deal right now. They go to Rose Bowls all the time. They were awful. They were going like 2-9 in the Big Ten over and over. They were awful. While I was growing up watching in the late 70s, throughout the 80s, Wisconsin was awful. And he shows up, and within a year, they're competing with Ohio State, Michigan. Within 2 years, they go and they win the Rose Bowl, finish in the top 5 in the nation. And they showed that whole transition and talked about him possibly going to Miami and how close it was and all of that. It's in the documentary about the 93 Wisconsin Rose Bowl team.
And like I said, I mean, we are, especially on my channel, we try not to be, in the past. I mean, we had the conversation about Coach Randy Shannon. We've had the conversation about Al Golden. Especially that's always off-season talk. We like to be this point moving forward. And I think for the first time since Butch Davis was here, we have somewhat of stability in our program. Now, it has to be proven, but as far as the buy-in from the administration, from the Board of Trustees, I mean, this is the highest it's ever been. So whatever they're going to financially put into it, especially allowing Coach Manny Diaz to be able to go out and hire quality assistants and quality GAs and QCs who could be position coaches, and you got them as a GA or a QC, that's starting to lay a foundation for building something to the next level. And we talked about that game, that Toledo game, when I said we weren't focused coming off of that hurricane stop back in 2017. Mark, Toledo was up 16-10 at the half.
I remember that.
We were getting booed. Like at home, it was bad. We ended up winning 52-30, but Toledo was leading. Like that type of stuff happens when the team isn't focused. You got one team who's playing in their Super Bowl, and the other one is just lollygag. So imagine if the offense didn't show up, and Dan Enos was our offensive coordinator. The reason why we say Enos, Mark, is because there's no O in his name because there's no offense.
I love that. I was going to say, did he just call him Enos? He knows better than that.
Enos, Dan Enos. There's no O because he had no offense. It's a Miami, it's a Canes thing that came on. Dante Colon came up with it on the channel, and people have ran with it ever since. So,
wholesome one. What I find interesting about Miami's scheduling is that, if I remember this correctly, they went to Toledo the next year.
Yeah.
And they didn't kill them. It was like a 1 or 2 score game, and then Miami blew them out like in the fourth quarter. Yeah. I don't remember what the final score was. I'll look it up here in a second. But it might have been like 38-13, but it was like 20-13 or 21-13. And then you guys stepped on the gas like in the fourth quarter, tacked down a couple.
Yeah.
I remember DJ Dallas. What's that?
49-24.
49-24. Okay. I remember DJ Dallas I remember DJ Dallas like stepping on guys, like trampling guys on one or two runs. Just nobody could tackle him.
You know what's even wilder, Mark? If you think about it, remember we were on upset alert back in 2016 when we went to Appalachian State. Yeah. Remember that?
Oh, I absolutely do.
Oh,
and I get it, but when that team spoke, there you see the difference in levels of play. When everybody's coming to play, and App State was there to play, obviously, you can see what happens, what can happen. What was that game like? 42-13, 38-13, something like that?
Yeah, let me look it up.
You beat them pretty bad.
I know Mark Walton went 73 on the first play, and I was in my dorm throwing stuff like, yes, because I was so mad. They were down talking us that entire, like right before the game. I mean, the 45-10 was the final score.
45-10. Okay.
And, I mean, the players talk ad nauseum about when they went to go play those lower tier schools, especially under Al Golden. Remember, we lost a lot of those games. We lost at Cincinnati in 2015. We were down 20-7 versus FAU that same year. In 2000, it took a monstrous comeback in the fourth quarter to win that 30-20. So, I mean, it was bad under Coach Al Golden when we played those lower tier teams. Because that was the thing. I remember Herb Street saying, like, 10 years ago, this was disrespectful. But this team, under the last head coach, because that was Mark Richt's first year, and his second game coaching at Miami. And they were just like, we're going to put them on upset alert because we don't know which Miami team shows up. The real Miami team shows up, they'll win by 40. But if the Al Golden Miami Hurricanes show up, they're on upset alert and could easily lose this game. But that's one thing Mark Richt didn't lose. He didn't lose games that he should win. He lost games. Excluding Pitt 2017. But I'm saying as far as against those lower level or group of 5 or FCS schools, Mark Richt made sure his teams were focused and they weren't losing games like that.
And what I also find interesting about that is Miami went to Toledo. Miami went to App State. Miami had a scheduled game at Arkansas State that was canceled. I'm trying to think of another program at that level that travels to places like that. I can't think of anybody.
Well,
and I got schedules and scores locked up in this brain. I'm not thinking nobody, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, they don't go travel to group of 5 schools. They don't play in front of 30,000 people at a max school or wherever. They don't do that.
Here's the thing, Mark. I don't know if you know the story, but back in 2000, because games are like 2 or 3 years ahead, sometimes like 5 or 6 years ahead. But back in 2013, there was an opportunity for the Miami Hurricanes to play Wisconsin. And the Packers.
Don't you guys play Wisconsin enough?
Oh, God. I don't even. That's the team I don't.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's been 3 bowl games in what, about 10 years?
3, and it's not good. So what happened was Al Golden, Coach Al Golden, and our athletic director, who wanted to schedule this game, and Al Golden said it's better to be undefeated at the end of the year than have a couple of tough losses. So in his mind, when him and the AD sat down and created a schedule, he wanted us to be undefeated non-conference, which would be a guaranteed 4 wins, and then maybe you lose one or two in conference, which always makes you a 10-2, 9-3 type of team. So that was his mindset. And the reason why I get that, that's not from reading. He said it in an interview before, I would much rather be undefeated than have a couple of tough losses. So when you look at how Coach Al Golden set up that schedule, and you saw the big difference when Coach Mark Richt came in 2016, because then you had games moving forward now with Alabama that came out under Coach Mark Richt's watch. You have the Florida game that came out in 2019, and also Coach Manny Diaz set up the one in 2023. That's going to be a home and home for 22 and 23. The Texas A&M games. The Alabama game came with Coach Mark Richt as the head coach for the 2021 season. So you saw the big difference when Coach Mark Richt was here. And then you saw when Coach Al Golden was here. So people want to point the finger to our AD. No. They all sit down and have this discussion. And you see with two other head coaches, we're playing quality teams. But when one other head coach, we're playing at max.